Should Christians gamble? It's a real question, and today we're going to answer it not from opinion, but from what the Bible tells us. So in Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 14, the Bible tells us, money is put into risky investments that turn sour, and everything is lost. In the end, there is nothing left to pass on to one's children. This is setting a very interesting tone about how quickly wealth can disappear, how misfortune can vastly wipe out all of one's resources that took years or even a lifetime to build. And the impact could extend not only through your life, but down to your children's and the next generation's lives as well. We live in a time where online gambling is everywhere. There's various betting apps, there's casinos, there's online games, there's even the ability to wager on any and everything. There's a recent individual that wagered on when a war was going to start and won a lot of money, but now is being investigated by the FBI for insider information. And it's very interesting, those same commercials that offer you the various online gambling opportunities, a minute after you'll have another commercial that talks about responsible betting, and if you have some type of addiction to gambling, they'll help you with your addiction, which that seems somewhat contradictory. You have the same organization is asking you to gamble, is also asking you to, here's what we can do for you to get help if you're becoming too much of a gambler. And now from the Christian perspective, believers may be thinking, is it really wrong? Isn't it just fun? Or is it something that I could do that is not against the Bible? I mean, is gambling okay? The real question isn't about, what this is doing. It's really about, your heart, your mind, and your trust in God and where you're placing your trust. And when you examine gambling through the lenses of the Bible, a pattern emerges. And the pattern really is, what are you putting your faith in? Where are you putting your trust? So God calls us to be good stewards. He doesn't call us to be owners. He doesn't call us to be gamblers. He calls us to be stewards. In the Bible, in Luke chapter 16, verse 10, the Bible tells us, if you are faithful in little things, you'll be faithful in large ones. But if you are dishonest in little things, you won't be honest with greater responsibilities. Faithfulness is something that God calls us to, whether it's little or much. He doesn't call us to taking chances. He doesn't call us to gambling with what He's given us. God's entrusted us with everything that we have. And to gamble it away is placing unnecessary risks on what God has given us and playing a game of probability. Maybe you win, maybe you won't. And that's the opposite of stewardship. Now let's look back at Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 14, which, as we stated, talks about how fast, money can disappear. So wealth handled without wisdom can vanish rapidly. And without wisdom, you increase your chances of misfortune, which will end up undoing what your discipline would have preserved. God never designed your financial life to depend on luck. He designed it to grow through faithfulness, discipline, and wisdom. So at its core, gambling is really saying, hey, I want more, I want it fast, I want it on my time, not when God has it prepared for me. The Bible tells us in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 9 through 10, but people who long to be rich fall into temptation and are trapped by many foolish and harmless desires that plunge them into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, and some people craving money have wandered from the true faith and pierced themselves with many sorrows. So this tells us that the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, and those who have loved money have produced many sorrows for themselves. So gambling in and of itself is built on the desire for rapid gain and getting rich quick. And that desire opens you up to poor decisions, emotional highs and lows, and vast financial instability. Now let's look at that in comparison to Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5. So in Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5, don't love money. Be satisfied with what you have. For God has said, I will never fail you. I will never abandon you. And I'll continue on because I like what the Bible says everywhere, but this is good. So we can say with confidence, the Lord is my helper. So I will have no fear. What can mere people do to me? So here in the Bible, God is calling us to contentment, to being happy with what He's blessed us with. And gambling trains you towards covetousness, wanting more than what you already have and wanting it in a way where you want it rapidly and are willing to take unnecessary risks to get it. So it really shifts your focus from God being your provider to maybe this thing will result in me being lucky, or this scratch off will result in me being lucky and that will be my provider. So that's not faith. That's depending on chance. And the Bible doesn't just warn you about money, it also warns you about how you get it. So in Proverbs chapter 13, verse 11, the Bible tells us, wealth from get rich quick schemes quickly disappears. Wealth from hard work grows over time. So this is pretty clear. It tells us that, hey, get rich quick schemes causes wealth to disappear. However, wealth that you get over time through diligence will continue to grow. So gambling is the definition of wealth gotten by, quick, hasty means. It bypasses a process of you building a foundation, you getting the knowledge you need to then go ahead and continue growing upon that foundation and develop a house of wealth that you are well able to manage. And it totally bypasses, the process of being diligent, and it seeks a reward without first having that foundation. And as we read in Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 14, things that come quickly could also leave quickly. So keep in mind, God's design is not for us to just survive. It's for us to build something that creates a lot for ourselves and then also blesses the next generation. As we read in Proverbs chapter 13, verse 22, the Bible tells us, good people leave an inheritance to their grandchildren, but the sinner's wealth passes to the godly. So a good man leaves an inheritance, a good woman leaves an inheritance to their children's children. And it's interesting also how the Bible tells us that the wealth basically gotten by the wicked passes to the godly. Wow, that's huge. So instead of building, if you're gambling, instead of building, you're taking unnecessary risks. You're not being a steady or stable individual, and you're exposing your future to uncertainty. And over time, that erodes what could have or should have been passed down. So to sum it up, looking at the question, should Christians gamble? When you look at the Bible, gambling contradicts stewardship. It feeds into greed instead of contentment, promotes unstable gain, and threatens generational legacy. So I can't dogmatically tell you that the Bible calls out somewhere specifically in which it says, do not gamble. However, there's enough evidence in the Bible that gambling is something that, as a Christian, you shouldn't do. Really shouldn't do it. So if this message added value for you, if this message spoke to you, please like it. Please share it with someone else you believe will add value to, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for listening. God bless.